The avoidant person becomes accustomed to relationship dynamics where they control the terms of connection and disconnection, where their withdrawal triggers anxious pursuit and their distance creates desperate attempts to restore closeness. They develop confidence in their ability to leave and return at will, assuming their former partners will remain emotionally available and hoping for reconciliation regardless of how much time passes. However, when they encounter someone whose capacity for complete and permanent disconnection exceeds their own, it triggers psychological crisis that transforms them from the person who discards into the person desperately seeking restoration of what they carelessly threw away. They expected temporary distance, not permanent disconnection. The avoidant person operated under the assumption that their usual pattern of withdrawal and return would function as it always had, with their former partner eventually breaking the silence or remaining emotionally accessible despite the separation. They underestimated their partner's ability to completely sever emotional attachment and move forward without looking back. When they discover that the person they discarded has implemented absolute and permanent cutoff with no intention of future contact or reconciliation, it shatters their sense of control and significance. This realization proves devastating because it forces recognition that they pushed away someone who possessed even greater capacity for emotional detachment than they demonstrated. Their partner's final discard operates with surgical precision and unwavering commitment that makes the avoidant person's previous withdrawal attempts seem amateur by comparison. They discover too late that someone they believed would always be available has closed the door permanently and feels relief rather than loss about the relationship's ending. This reversal of expected dynamics triggers panic as they recognize they have genuinely lost access to someone they took for granted. Their usual tactics produce zero response. The avoidant person experiences shocking desperation when their typical strategies of breadcrumbing, subtle contact attempts, and strategic visibility produce absolutely no response or reaction from their former partner. They expected that minimal effort would reignite interest or at least provoke some emotional response demonstrating they still occupy psychological space. Instead, they encounter complete indifference that suggests they have become genuinely irrelevant to someone who once cared deeply about their presence and attention. This lack of response triggers unfamiliar feelings of powerlessness and insignificance that they typically inspire in others rather than experience themselves. They discover that their usual tools for maintaining control and generating interest no longer function with someone who has truly moved beyond caring about their games. The desperation intensifies as they realize that no amount of strategic behavior or calculated contact will restore their former position of importance. Their partner's cutoff game proves superior because it stems from genuine emotional detachment rather than strategic manipulation. They witness thriving that confirms their irrelevance. The avoidant person descends into desperation when they observe their former partner radiating happiness, success, and fulfillment that demonstrates their absence created opportunity rather than devastation. This visible flourishing communicates that the final discard was liberation rather than loss, that their former partner's life improved dramatically once they were removed from it. The evidence that someone is thriving without them contradicts their unconscious belief in their own importance and confirms they were limiting rather than enhancing their partner's potential. This realization triggers desperate attempts to reclaim relevance and restore their position in someone's life who has clearly moved far beyond them. They recognize too late that they discarded someone whose trajectory involved growth and success they could never participate in due to their emotional limitations. The desperation emerges from understanding that they removed themselves from association with someone valuable precisely through the behaviors they believed granted them power and control. Their pride battles, desperate urge to restore connection. The avoidant person experiences internal warfare between their defensive pride and overwhelming desire to reverse the permanent cutoff their former partner implemented.